Hello everyone. Today we're going to be collecting our bike tools and getting ready to replace the bottom bracket on the Schwinn Axum. So, if you're anything like me, you bought this bike with upgradability in mind. But also, realizing that you're going to have to replace some parts as they get worn out. And after poorly sending this bike up a pretty rough step up, I ended up bending the bearings or something. But anyways, it's time for an upgrade. In preparation for the BB MT800, the bottom bracket from Shimano that we will be installing, I'm just getting the pedals and chain and everything organized and removed from the bike. And in this, I tried to leave the chain on, but if you find the master link, you might as well go ahead and remove the whole chain. It might help you later on. So these caps on the end of the crank arms are 8mm, and I didn't have an 8mm wrench at the time, so I got the adapter off of my bike tool. I ended up breaking this part later. It shattered quite spectacularly. And now begins the first difficult part of taking this bike apart. I would recommend starting with the chainring side first. Unlike me, I ended up having to put this arm back on a little bit part of the way so I could try and torque it off on the other side. Also, if you have a socket set or like a Allen socket set for a ratchet wrench and like a long ratchet wrench for breaking tension, very helpful for this bike takedown. Once again, remove the chainring side first. Now this tool is a pain and loves to slip out of the socket, or rather out of the bracket retaining bolt, or whatever it is. So here I switch to a longer wrench, and I realize that I need to go counterclockwise to unscrew it after a little while, so just a good bit of working it out. Just take some time. Now that this part is free, you'll notice the spindle just kind of flops around within the bottom bracket tube. Yes, this makes getting this side off rather difficult. And at this point I had gotten a set of ratchet Allens in order to break the tension after snapping that adapter I had. Getting the chainring crank off was so hard. Through this process I ended up bruising my hands and completely fragging this crank puller. I end up connecting the ratchet to the crank puller and putting in the left side crank arm just so I can torque on both sides of the bike, and when it falls off, the loudest sound known to man happens. But after a bunch of screaming as loud as I possibly could while forcing this thing, I finally had the initial tension holding it on broken, and I was just able to get it off. I might end up taking this crankset and putting it on the Mongoose Malice to see if that improves the riding qualities even more as well. And on to removing this. This time you want to go clockwise to loosen it. Now that that's off, the spindle is free to come out. These bearings just shat out all the balls everywhere. And time to clean and get ready to install the new bottom bracket from Shimano. And now another cheeky unboxing for you, courtesy of Backcountry. And now with our new parts unpackaged, it's time to grease up our threads and install the bottom bracket. The camera is focus locked on the bike, but just make sure that you put it in the correct direction. I have now threaded it in as far as I can with my hands, and it's time to finish it off with the tool for the Hallow Tech II bottom bracket. Oh wait, what's this? My arm's blocking it, but you can't see it. It doesn't fit. It's too big. This side's too small. Oh no. Damn. So now I made a trip to my local bike shop, where they were kind enough to let me use the wrench, but I bought some inner tubes. I'm planning on building some wheels in the near future, specifically for this bike using some more Shimano parts. Anyways, now we can insert the crank arms and get this bad boy going. It's quite a tight fit. If you have a rubber hammer, you could bop it. What I ended up doing was just kind of pushing it in, pulling it out, pushing it in, pulling it out, pushing it in until it's seated all the way. That's the fitment, like a glove. And now we can put on the left crank arm, which is quite easy, and then the pedals. A little note, grease the entire shaft of the cranks before you slide it through. It'll help a little bit as well. I believe this little plastic piece is to help push the left crank all the way onto the shaft. So I re-loosen the bolts, tighten that piece down as much as I could, then retighten the bolts. Taking your chain off just makes the process easier, and with a master link it's super easy to do. I mean, the most tedious part was just getting it to run all the way through the jockey wheel at the bottom there. And after that, snap the master link closed and bam! Your bike's done, and oh my goodness, I gotta tell you, this actual bottom bracket makes such a world of difference in ride quality. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see ya.